Jungkook shames Taehyung publicly. Unaware, Taehyung just protected him from a scandal that could end his career. What is Taehyung hiding? You think you're star, Taehyung? Don't make me laugh. You've been dead weight since day one. Jungkook's voice echoed off the high walls of the HYBE dance studio, slicing through the air like a whip. The room went silent. All eyes turned to him, not in admiration like they once had, but with uncertainty, discomfort. Taehyung stood still, his expression unreadable, fists clenched at his sides. He didn't flinch, didn't fight back. But behind his calm, something deeper stirred, something he couldn't say, even as the person he had just protected tore him apart in front of everyone. Outside, the sky over Seoul was darkening into a slate-gray twilight, the city unaware of the fracture forming within its brightest stars. Just minutes ago, during an intense rehearsal, Taehyung had misstepped, barely offbeat, nothing disastrous, but enough to push Jungkook over the edge. He was already fraying at the seams, sleep-deprived, drowning in pressure, clinging to perfection like a lifeline. The group's comeback was weeks away. Every move mattered. Every flaw felt fatal. But what Jungkook didn't know, what none of them knew, was that Taehyung had just spent the morning shielding him from a scandal that could have ended everything. Earlier that day, while the others were still asleep or warming up, Taehyung had walked into HYBE's executive floor alone, carrying a folder that could destroy Jungkook's reputation. Anonymous tips, fabricated evidence, audio recordings. Someone from a rival agency was trying to frame Jungkook in a drug scandal. And Taehyung had stopped it that he didn't name Jungkook. Didn't seek credit, just buried it quietly, asking only for the matter to be handled discreetly. He knew what public exposure would do, not just to Jungkook, but to all of them. And now here he stood, publicly humiliated by the very person he had protected. You should have just stayed home if you're going to keep messing things up, Jungkook hissed. Jimin shifted uncomfortably. Namjoon stepped forward, unsure whether to interfere. Hoseok caught Taehyung's eyes, but Taehyung gave nothing away. Then Jungkook's phone buzzed in his pocket. The silence was heavy enough to feel. He glanced down, saw the name. Incoming call, CEO Bang Si-hyuk. He blinked. Why would the CEO call him now? Especially in the middle of practice? He answered, voice tight. Hyung, come to my office. Now. Alone. What's going on? Now Jungkook. The line cut. He didn't look at anyone as he left the room, though he could feel the weight of their stares. Especially Taehyung's. Especially the silence that burned hotter than any words dotted up on the 23rd floor. The CEO's office was dimly lit. The blinds half closed. Bang Si-hyuk stood by the window, arms crossed. I need you to watch something, he said without greeting. The screen lit up with a grainy video. A hidden recording, two men in an office, laughing. Jungkook's name was mentioned. A plan laid out to plant drugs in his belongings. Forge medical reports. Release it to the press under the guise of anonymous whistleblowing. Jungkook felt his knees weaken. His voice cracked. Bang didn't look at him. Taehyung came here this morning. With this, the words hit harder than any scream. He could have let it happen. He could have stayed silent and watched you burn. No one would have blamed him. But he didn't. Jungkook was speechless. The image of Taehyung's face from earlier, pale and stoic under the fluorescent lights of the studio, came rushing back. His stillness, his silence that he hadn't been weak. He had been holding everything back downstairs. Taehyung had left the studio and climbed to the rooftop. Wind tugged at his hoodie. He took out a crumpled envelope, the original documents, his only copy, and stared at it. The skyline of Seoul stretched before him. Indifferent, he could still hear Jungkook's voice from earlier, laced with venom. I'm such a fool, he muttered to the wind. A fool to care this much. Behind him, the door creaked open. A staff member stepped out, but didn't say anything. Taehyung didn't turn around. Later that night, Jungkook found himself outside Taehyung's apartment. His hand hovered above the door, uncertain. He had rehearsed what to say the whole ride there. But now, nothing felt right. Before he could knock, the door opened. Taehyung stood there, eyes swollen but dry, face expressionless. Jungkook opened his mouth, but Taehyung cut him off. I don't need your apology, Jungkook. I just need time. to stop regretting that I ever protected you." The door closed. Jungkook stood in the hallway alone, silence pressing against him like a punishment. And for the first time, he realized some wounds don't bleed. They just stay hidden, waiting to be felt when it's already too late. The practice room was empty when Jungkook walked in the next morning, earlier than he'd ever been. The air was still, thick with yesterday's echoes. His footsteps sounded loud against the hardwood floor, as if the walls themselves remembered his voice, his outburst. He dropped his bag in the corner and sat in silence, facing the mirror. His reflection looked older today, eyes darker, shame heavier. He hadn't slept. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw Taehyung's face at the door, heard those words again, calm, detached, final. "I don't need your apology. I just need time to stop regretting that I ever protected you." The door creaked behind him. Jungkook straightened, expecting one of the members. But no one entered. Instead, something slid under the door, an envelope. Thick, sealed in plain black. He frowned, walked over, picked it up. His name was on it.to Jungkook. He opened it with slow, deliberate fingers. Inside, a USB. His pulse quickened. An O note. No explanation. He grabbed his laptop, heart thudding louder with every click. The file loaded with a hiss of static. Then video. A grainy feed dated 2 days ago. Security camera footage. An office inside HYB. Taehyung, standing, holding a folder. "I'm not giving you this to ruin anyone." Taehyung's voice echoed through the speakers. "I'm giving it to you because it's real. And if it gets out, we lose him. We all do." The screen shifted. CEO Bang entered the room. Their conversation continued, calm, professional. No emotion, just facts. Taehyung explaining the planted evidence, the emails, the anonymous blackmail attempt, the media contact already bribed. Everything. And through it all, Taehyung never said Jungkook's name out loud. "He doesn't even know what's happening," Taehyung said. "Don't involve him. Just shut it down quietly." Jungkook sat frozen, a lump forming in his throat. The video ended. He rewound it, watched it again and again. Then he just stared at the black screen, unable to move, his insides twisting. It had only been a day. How could everything change so quickly? The door opened again, and this time Jimin stepped in, holding 2 coffees. His smile faltered when he saw Jungkook's face. "You okay?" Jungkook didn't answer. He just handed Jimin the USB. "Watch this." Later that day, the studio felt different. The tension between members wasn't spoken, but it lingered in every movement. Hoseok kept glancing toward the door. Namjoon was more silent than usual. Taehyung hadn't shown up. Jimin looked from Jungkook to the others, unsure if he should be the one to say it. "He knows," he finally said. "About what Tae did." He saw the footage. Namjoon exhaled like a weight had just hit the room. "You're gonna talk to him?" Hoseok asked. Jungkook hesitated. "He won't answer my calls. He blocked me." "You can't fix this with a text," Jimin muttered. "And maybe you don't deserve to." The words stung. But Jungkook nodded. "I know." He stood abruptly, grabbed his hoodie, and walked out. No plan, no script, just a pit in his stomach and a name that wouldn't leave his mind. Taehyung. Meanwhile, Taehyung was in a studio on the other side of the building, lights off, headphones on. He sat in front of a piano, trying to write something, anything to drown out the noise in his head. But it wouldn't stop. Every key fell hollowed. He wasn't angry anymore, he was tired. Tired of being the one who kept things together behind the scenes. Tired of smiling through things no one asked about. Tired of loving people who only noticed him when he broke. He opened his notebook, wrote a line. "If I disappeared, would you sing a different song?" A knock on the door. He didn't answer. The door creaked open anyway. Jungkook stood in the dark, breathing like he'd run miles. His eyes found Taehyung through the gloom. "I saw the video," he said. Taehyung didn't look up. "You shouldn't have." Jungkook stepped closer. "Why didn't you tell me?" "Because you didn't care," Taehyung said flatly. "You cared more about being perfect than being human. That's not fair. You humiliated me." Jungkook sat beside him, slowly, unsure if he was allowed. The silence between them was louder than any argument. I can't take it back, Jungkook said quietly. But I'd do anything to fix it. You can't fix what you don't understand, Taehyung replied. You don't understand what it's like to be invisible, even when you're standing right in front of everyone. Jungkook looked at him then, really looked. For the first time in days, he saw the exhaustion behind Taehyung's eyes, the loneliness sitting beside the talent. I was scared, Jungkook admitted. Of everything. Of failing. Of not being enough. You took that fear out on me. I know. Taehyung finally turned toward him. So what now? Before Jungkook could answer, Taehyung's phone buzzed. An unknown number, he frowned. Answered. Then froze. Who was that? Jungkook asked. Taehyung's eyes were wide. Pale. They said they have another video. And if we don't meet them tonight, they'll release it. Jungkook stood, his voice suddenly sharp. Who? I don't know. But they know about the USB. They know about me going to CEO Bang. Outside, the city lights flickered into life, unaware that in one of Seoul's most protected buildings, the past was clawing its way back to the surface. The alley was colder than it should have been. Seoul's nightlife buzzed just a few blocks away. Neon lights, late-night ramen stalls, laughter spilling from bars. But here, in this backstreet behind a shuttered theater, it was silent. Too silent. Jungkook pulled his hoodie lower over his face, checking over his shoulder. Taehyung stood beside him, arms crossed, face unreadable under the street lamp's weak glow. You sure this is the place? Jungkook asked. Taehyung nodded. They said the old Daehan Theater. 11 p.m. Alone. The building loomed in front of them, abandoned since 2019. The paint on the marquee had long since peeled. Windows were blacked out. A single side door stood open, barely visible in the shadows. Jungkook swallowed hard. We shouldn't go in there alone. Taehyung glanced at him. Then why did you come? Jungkook didn't answer. They stepped inside together. The interior smelled of damp wood and mold. Old movie posters still clung to the walls, half-torn. Their footsteps echoed off the cracked tile floor. The darkness wrapped around them like fog. Taehyung's phone buzzed again. Unknown number. Go to the stage. Come alone. He showed Jungkook the screen. Jungkook shook his head. No way, I'm letting you go in there by yourself. Taehyung hesitated, then sighed. Then stay behind me. Don't say anything. They moved through the decaying lobby and down into the theater proper. Rows of dusty seats stretched toward the black void of the stage. A single spotlight flickered on, aimed at the center. Taehyung stepped into the light. A voice rang out from the shadows. Brave, showing up. You really are as loyal as they say. The voice was masked, distorted, genderless, echoing off the walls. Who are you? Taehyung demanded. Doesn't matter, the voice replied. What matters is what happens next. A screen lit up behind the stage, displaying a paused video. A new one. The still frame was Jungkook, passed out in a dressing room. Shirt half unbuttoned. Someone beside him, holding a vial. Taehyung froze. Jungkook stepped forward instinctively, but Taehyung threw his arm out, blocking him. What is this? Taehyung shouted. The voice laughed. The sequel. The footage that didn't make it to the authorities. Yet, that's fake, Jungkook growled. I've never. You don't remember it. But you were there. The night of a Japan showcase. The after party. Jungkook's face went pale. That night was a blur. Drinks, noise, exhaustion. He'd always chalked the memory gaps up to stress and sleep deprivation. But this, I swear I didn't. Of course you didn't, the voice said. But that won't matter when the media sees it. Taehyung stepped forward now, his voice like steel. What do you want? A pause, then. I want you to walk away. From HYB. From BTS. Quietly. No scandals, no excuses. Say it's for your health. Say nothing more. Do that. And this video disappears. The silence that followed was suffocating. Taehyung didn't speak. Jungkook looked at him, panicked. No, Jungkook said. No way. Tae, you're not doing this. You already saved me once. I won't let you destroy yourself for me. But Taehyung turned his head slowly. I'm not letting them destroy you, Jungkook. Then we fight it, Jungkook insisted. We find the source. We go public. We tell the truth. Taehyung stared at the screen. The threat, the manipulation, the ghost of a smile tugged at his lips. That's what they're afraid of. He turned back toward the shadows. You want to play games? Fine, but you messed with the wrong people. The screen blinked off, a door slammed somewhere in the distance. They were alone again, but something had changed in Taehyung's eyes. Not fear, resolve. Back at HYB, the mood was uneasy. Namjoon paced the hallway outside the practice room. Phone pressed to his ear. "They're not answering," he muttered. "Both of them." Jimin frowned. "You think it's related to the file?" Hoseok leaned against the wall. "I think this is bigger than we thought." The next morning, a storm rolled in over Seoul. Rain lashed against the windows of Jungkook's apartment. He hadn't slept again. Taehyung sat on his couch, staring at the files spread across the table. Screenshots, email trails, clips from security footage. They had pulled an all-nighter tracing the anonymous threats. What they found shocked them both. A name, a manager from another label. Someone they knew, someone they had trusted. "I should have seen this," Jungkook muttered. "They were always too nice, too helpful." Taehyung didn't answer. He was staring at something else now, an encrypted file they couldn't open. "I think this is the original video," he said. "The one they showed us." Jungkook leaned over. "Can we unlock it?" Taehyung's fingers hovered over the keyboard. "Maybe. But if we do, we see everything, whether it clears you or not." Jungkook's jaw clenched. "Then let's do it." End of episode 3. Next episode preview. The encrypted file reveals a truth darker than they expected. Meanwhile, the name behind the blackmail is exposed, but not everyone wants it brought to light. Jungkook and Taehyung finally unlock the encrypted file, uncovering the original, unedited video showing Jungkook being drugged by a mysterious woman. In a hidden folder, they discovered a secret project filled with fake evidence and fabricated scandals, designed specifically to destroy Jungkook's reputation. HYB's internal investigation revealed the mastermind. Kang Jaewon, their former road manager, secretly fired a year ago after Taehyung caught him leaking information to the media. Seeking revenge, Jaewon targeted Jungkook to hurt Taehyung, twisting the truth into a weapon. When Jaewon appeared in Taehyung's studio to blackmail him into leaving BTS, Taehyung calmly recorded the confession. Seconds later, Jungkook and security burst in. Jaewon was arrested. But even with the villain exposed, the real storm was only beginning. The leaked video goes viral. Public opinion splits. Some defend Jungkook. Others accuse him despite the proof. BTS is thrown into a media storm. HYB's executives panic, urging the group to stay silent and let it blow over. But Jungkook refuses. For the first time, he speaks out in a raw, emotional live stream, confessing the truth, the fear, the betrayal, and thanking Taehyung for standing by him when no one else did. The live stream explodes. Fans rally. Hashtags trend worldwide. But behind the scenes, pressure mounts. Brands pull deals. Tour dates are questioned. HYB issues an ultimatum. Either Taehyung takes a temporary hiatus to cool down the situation, or the group pauses everything. IKT tears the group apart. In episode 6, Taehyung quietly agrees to leave, without telling Jungkook. When Jungkook finds out, he confronts the boardroom in front of HYB's top execs, furious and heartbroken. "You don't protect us. You protect your profit." The room goes dead silent. Episode 7 opens with silence. Taehyung disappears. No Wuvier. No note. Just gone. Jungkook spirals. Flashbacks haunt him. Guilt eats away. The group tries to stay united, but something's broken. A mysterious email arrives on Jungkook's burner phone. Footage Jaewon couldn't have sent alone that there's another player, and they're still watching. Jungkook secretly leaves Seoul, tracing the photo's metadata to a small coastal town in Norway. Taehyung is there, alive, but clearly shaken. He's been hiding, not just from the media, but from someone who's been following him. Taehyung reveals everything. Jaewon wasn't working alone. The real mastermind is someone within the industry, high-ranking, powerful, and still operating in the shadows. They orchestrated the blackmail, the video, even Taehyung's forced departure. Why? To gain control over BTS's future and destroy anyone who resisted. Together, Jungkook and Taehyung begin piecing it all together. They hack into old message trails, find deleted files, and uncover payments made through dummy companies. The deeper they dig, the more dangerous it becomes. Back in Seoul, the other members are also being targeted. Threatening messages, fake scandals, legal traps. Someone is trying to fracture BTS from the inside. In Episode 9, the final clue surfaces, a voice recording of a confidential board meeting. The voice giving the orders? A senior executive at HYB. The betrayal is deeper than they imagined. The rain hammered down on Seoul as Taehyung and Jungkook returned, this time not as idols, but as survivors ready to burn the mask off everything that tried to break them. Armed with a voice recording, leaked emails, and financial trails, they crash a closed-door HYB board meeting. Security tries to block them, until Namjoon steps in, flanked by the other members. For the first time in months, BTS stands together. Jungkook speaks first, voice sharp with restrained fury. "You blackmailed us. You tried to use my pain as a weapon. You tried to erase Taehyung." Taehyung steps forward, calm but commanding. "And now we're going to show the world who you really are." They play the recording. Silence. The senior executive, Mr. Han, tries to spin it, blaming rogue staff, miscommunication, even accusing Taehyung of manipulating the group. But it's too late. The proof is irrefutable. The board is shaken. A scandal this massive can't be hidden anymore. HYB's legal team moves fast. Mr. Han is suspended. An emergency press conference is called, but BTS doesn't let the company speak for them this time. They take the stage themselves. In front of millions watching live across the globe, Taehyung tells the entire story of Jawon, of the video, of the betrayal within HYB, and of the silent war they fought to protect one another. When Taehyung turns to Jungkook mid-speech and says, "Even when you hated me, I still chose to protect you," the crowd erupts. The fans respond not with judgment, but with love, forgiveness, fury, loyalty. BTS isn't just forgiven. They're reborn. Final scene. Weeks later, they're on stage again. This time not for a press conference, but a comeback concert. The lights dim. The crowd holds their breath. Taehyung and Jungkook walk out side by side. A piano starts. A new song begins. Raw, stripped down, written by them both. It's not just music, it's survival. No one breaks us. Not even the people we once trusted the most. This story is a fictional psychological drama and conspiracy thriller set in the idol industry, exploring deep emotional conflict, internal betrayal, and the strength of true brotherhood. The plot centers around Jungkook, who, in a moment of frustration, humiliates Taehyung in front of everyone over a small mistake during practice. What he doesn't know is that Taehyung had secretly saved Jungkook's career from a massive scandal orchestrated by their former manager, Kang Jawon, as revenge against Taehyung. The conflict deepens when it's revealed that Jawon wasn't working alone. A high-ranking figure inside HYB was the true mastermind behind the setup and threats against BTS. Taehyung becomes the main target because he was the one who previously exposed internal corruption in this intense journey. Jungkook and Taehyung, despite their fallout, eventually unite to uncover a powerful conspiracy threatening not just their careers, but BTS's very existence. They face media pressure, corporate manipulation, and personal danger. But in the midst of it all, they choose to fight back with the one thing that can't be silenced: the truth. This story highlights the dark side of power in the entertainment industry, internal conflict between trust, pride, and loyalty, the courage to stand against a broken system even at the risk of losing everything in the end. With the truth exposed and the scandal publicly addressed in a press conference led by BTS themselves, the members not only turn the tables, but also restore their unity as brothers and reclaim their freedom as artists.